Alrighty, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to this is our 5th conversation, and you all have been asking for us to bring a guest on, and previous to us changing the format, we really didn't have a good way where we can bring somebody in with minimal frustration, but we finally have our first guest, and I think it's a good one to kick it off. It's Russ from 51 Drones. Russ, thanks
How's
for coming
it going, guys?
on, man.
Hey, Bet. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Awesome to have you on. I don't think that we've spoken face to face.
No, I don't think we have. No.
It's all been through the Twitter DM, so it's great to finally talk to you. Russ has been creating some awesome content recently. I think a highlight of your channel is just going over all the rules. You make it so easy to sit there and just listen to. I mean, I know that a couple of times Ken and I have just sat there and been like, man, we got to listen to these videos and just absorb all this info.
or yeah, when we're doing our condensed versions, we're like, we'll just flip on Russ's video just to get the cliff notes.
I think the reason I got into it, I think I just wanted to make sure that I was doing things right, when I first started flying. And I think a lot of people are the same. They just want to make sure that they're not breaking the rules, and they don't want to go beyond what your drone's supposed to go 4 miles away, but that just doesn't seem right. And so I'm sure that's kind of why people get into the rules, and that's why I got into it. I just want to make sure that I'm doing it the way that I'm supposed to. And then also I just like to research stuff. I just like to get down to the bottom of things and kind of find out, kind of narrow it down, because a lot of that government stuff really is wordy. So I like to break it up, make it quicker for people, get the main information. So. Yeah.
Well, you just recently crossed 50,000 subscribers, right? Pretty recently. Yeah. So congrats on that.
Actually, just
52 now. 52,000.
52. Geez, man, where is time going?
I know.
Well, now that leads me to the question: 51 drones. What does it mean? What is 51 drones?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but basically what it comes down to is both of my parents were born in 1951, and I'm a product of that. And I was just looking for getting a drone, and I thought, well, I kind of had a good ring to it. It kind of brings me back, to my foundation, kind of where I came from, and kind of just keeps me grounded. That's kind of no pun intended there, but 51 drones. And just, family means everything to me. So I thought they went together quite well. And then kind of another thing that I knew I made the right decision is when people would comment on their comments and they would ask me if I actually owned 51 drones. And so I think they just want to see what kind of drones does this guy have? He's got 51 drones, but no, it just comes down to just that 1951. So.
Well, you're working towards it, right? How many drones do you have now?
Oh, if you count the Telos and a couple of toy drones, I think I have 8 now. So
okay,
yeah, but I only fly the DJI drones right now. So
gotcha. And what do you find you're flying mostly?
The Mavic 2 Pro. Yeah,
nice.
I would say about 75% of the time, and then the rest is probably the Mavic Air, just because it's so fun to fly.
Isn't it?
And it really is, and I just love it. I hated it at first just because it was so noisy, and with the connection. I kept losing connection because a lot of the time when I was flying it, at first I was flying in a low valley and there was trees all around, and I just kept losing it. It just got so frustrating. And so all I had to do was go to a nice wide open area and then get those master air screw props, and that fixed both problems that I had with it. So yeah, I really enjoy the Mavic Air, but you just can't beat that camera on the Mavic 2 Pro. So.
No, you can't. Now, here's a question for you, and then we'll get into our topic. Which we're going to get a lot of dislikes for, but especially you living up in North Dakota. I remember when I first got my drone, my Mavic Air, I went to Minneapolis. Yeah. Pretty damn cold there. I was there in February, and the Mavic Air was shaking. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, it did. It did until they did the update, the firmware update, and yeah, that was actually one of my most popular videos because it was timing. I released it at just the right time, and it was super cold, and yeah, that was really frustrating because, I just got that drone and I'm like, what the heck is this? I just paid whatever, $800 or $900, whatever it was at the time. And well then, we got down to it. We got down right away. I think DJI came out with the firmware update maybe a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah.
And then it fixed it. So yeah, it didn't take too long. I think they do a pretty good job. They catch a lot of flack in many ways for their customer service, but I think when there's a big problem, I think they really do take care of it in a timely fashion. So
I agree with the bigger problems, and I know that Ken can attest. He's even spoken out on it before that dealing with DJI support, it's really not all that bad. I mean, a lot of these pilots probably come and they're most likely in the wrong. I mean, there's definitely a lot of pilot error that happens, but as long as, I mean, something happens on DJI's end and they can take the blame for it, chances are you're going to get a new drone from them.
Right. Yeah. They'll do you right if it's a real problem, and it's, you know, everyone tries to find little loopholes in the warranty or in the care refresh. Now, I have heard some bad things about the care refresh.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, I think there's some issues there that need to be fixed. But as far as the, you know, if you got warranty issues, I think they hook you up pretty good. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever bought care refresh for any drone. Have you guys?
I did for my Mavic Pro and my Mavic Air, but I didn't for my Mavic 2 Pro because I found out about the State Farm insurance plan was
so much better,
1,000 times better, you know. So I went with that.
Someone needs to step up and, you know, take on that market and say, hey, we're going to offer insurance. We're going to do it better than, you know, what we've seen, because right now there's really minimal options for protecting your, you know, product against loss.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? With State Farm, I went to go get business insurance for my business, pretty much all drones. And I went in under like photography. And when I started talking about drones, they're like, oh, you fly drones? And I was like, well, yeah, you know, mostly drones. And they say, oh, well, we can't insure you because they don't insure aircraft. So they dropped me after 1 month.
No way.
Yep.
Wow. So did you get through someone else then?
I haven't. In fact, I had one job where I needed that insurance, and I had it during that month, and I haven't needed insurance since then. In fact, man, that job, I've talked about it before, they required up to $6 million of liability insurance.
Holy cow.
And that was a pretty penny. So I'm glad that I don't have to continue to pay that premium. But, you know, I haven't really done my research on drone business insurance. I've got to do a little bit more.
Sure. I just did a real estate shoot, and I actually used Skywatch for the first time as a Part 107, and that was pretty slick. I did it right on site, and I think it was like, I don't know what it was, $10, I think.
That's not bad.
And
yeah,
that was
No.
That was for $1 million, and you know the excuse me, the property was I think the property was worth $350,000. So yeah,
that's
nice. It was a good deal. Yep.
So now let's transition here into our topic, which is the Mavic Mini. Now, I guess we saw some photos of this surface. 3 days ago?
Yeah. So Drone DJ basically I guess wouldn't say retweeted, but put out the images that were removed by Osita, and there were some tweets from him saying he was being threatened, and I can only imagine that maybe DJI was like, hey, those need to come down. I don't know. I mean, and again, we're going off of his you know, story anyways, and you know the information that you know Drone DJ has obviously put out there. There's a lot of skeptics on the Mini as of right now.
So I know that these photos originally came from some other guy. His name starts with like a K or something like that. So in fact, if you look at Droning On, our favorite guy, if you look at him, he actually pointed everybody's direction in this guy. His name starts with a K. You can go look at his tweets. And he was the first one that posted it. So I wonder if he's getting threatened by that first guy who posted it, or if he's getting threatened by DJI directly. But either way, I wonder what Osita's connection is with DJI. I mean, just he's definitely on Twitter. He's an odd guy if you follow him.
You know, sometimes he gets things right, sometimes he gets things wrong, or sometimes it takes a long time for what he says to actually come to fruition. I mean, he said that we were going to get a Ronin SE. He basically spouted off the specs. I remember this was 3 months ago, and I had totally forgot that he even said anything about it. And I was like, oh, well, we didn't see a Ronin SE. We didn't see a successor to the Ronin. And then sure enough, like just last month, we see the Ronin SE. So, I mean, there's times where he says things that are completely right. And I mean, he's got us a couple of times, but I wouldn't say he's totally off. I mean, what do you guys think when you look at those images? Like, what do you think? Do you think that's a legit deal? I mean, it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty legit. I think that I think DJI is listening to the market, and I think they're doing the research, and they really want to reach out to that sub 500 market. I think that's where they're going to make their money, the $1,500 drones, that's great for creators and for professional type people. But the way that they're going to make more money to fund new projects is that sub 500 range. And so I think products like the Spark or the Spark 2, if it ever comes, and the Mavic Air, is pretty close. But this is a...
Let's think about that, though. If you look at their lineup now currently, like you have the Spark, you have the Mavic Air, you have the Mavics. I mean, maybe they are taking sort of an Apple-like approach, and they're saying, okay, well, we don't need the Spark. We tried it, and it was somewhat successful, but let's sort of true up our lineup here and say, okay, we're going to have the Mavic Mini, the Mavic Zoom, the Mavic Pro. We're going to just offer 3 Mavics potentially. And
that makes sense.
Clean the lineup up and not make it so confusing, because like the Mavic Air, where did that fit in really with the Spark? I mean, it was almost more portable and more capable than the Spark. So,
well, to build off of that, right? I don't see where they were coming from dropping a drone called the Spark, right? I mean, the Mavic has such a great name behind it. I thought they would have just built off of the Mavic. Now, maybe they don't want to water down the Mavic name by calling the Spark like a Mavic Mini or a Mavic Air or whatever happens, right? Obviously, there already is a Mavic Air. But I think if they stuck with that Mavic name, I think it would just make things so much more simple. But now we've got the Spark, we've got the Phantom, the Inspire, the Mavic, so who knows what's going on.
Yeah, and I think, like, when I look at it, when I see the name Mavic, I think foldable, and that's kind of what they want to stick to now, is the foldable compact, kind of thing that you can fit in your pocket. The other thing that I noticed is, it weighs 350 grams, supposedly is the spec on the weight, and that's 100 grams over, the FAA limit. Mm-hmm. If DJI, I was thinking this evening, if DJI, if they had some good lobbyists, they would be visiting with the right people at the FAA to move that threshold up to 350 grams or maybe 400 grams. And because honestly, if 350 grams hits anything, it's not going to do anything to it.
No, not even at the speeds that is, that's going to be capable of going. You're thinking maybe 30 miles an hour, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And I don't know. What are the odds? I think a lot of times we don't really look at the odds or the percentages of accidents in the air. I mean, we haven't seen any accidents with a UAV.
Right.
Nothing.
Well, in terms of like a drone you can throw up and shoot some photos with, I think that Mavic Mini is going to be awesome. But you look at what they pack into the Mavic Mini, I think that's almost the smallest they can go to still make a drone that's somewhat capable and has like a gimbal on it. But you can't make something like that for under 250 grams. It's just impossible. We look at the Tello, right? I mean, it's really not the best photo or video shooter, but I think that this could definitely pack some serious power for people that just want to shoot aerial photos on the go. Because it's so small, I don't know how it's going to fare for video, but even like we see with the Spark, that thing shoots some great photos.
Yeah. Yep. And
video wasn't bad either.
It was okay for the price point, but yeah. But this, they say 4K. Is that what it said? 4K at 30? 4K. Is that the specs?
Yeah.
So with a 1/1.7, I think, was the sensor size, or was it 1/2/3? I don't remember, but I think it's getting pretty close to the Mavic Pro camera, on this little drone. That's pretty amazing.
Did you see the SD card slot? Is it me or does that look like a full size SD card slot? Maybe it's just a proportion of the way. Like, I don't know if you. Obviously we can't pull the photo up here because it's a podcast, but I was looking at the rear door. The door actually hinges down where you slide the battery in.
Yes.
And there's a slot where it looks like a full-size HDMI, and that's what it looks like. And it almost looks like a full-size SD card. I could be wrong because of the way it's like proportioned and zoomed in, but I've not seen an SD card, a micro SD card that big.
I guess I haven't looked at it that closely, but
at first when I saw the door open up, I was like, is this thing going to take AA batteries? That's what it looks like, honestly. Although I see the pins here, it's definitely not going to take AA batteries. But it's insane how much this looks similar to the Mavic and how it looks so shrunken down. And I even wonder if it's going to be called the DJI Mavic Mini. I mean, it sounds like a great name, but I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, and it's sort of odd that they have a battery door. It's not like DJI to have a battery door unless if this is their way of saving money, because I don't know what goes into making these batteries, you know, be able to clip and, you know, the whole smart thing, you know. So it makes me wonder, you know, if they're cutting corners to get that cost, you know, below. And again, this is all, you know, we're speculating based on photos and information that is out there, but still.
This is the way that I interpret it. You've got all of this stuff that needs to attach to the body, like the different arms and such, right? And then when you get smaller, you have fewer spots for everything to attach on. So they can make that full body on the outside, attach the arms, maybe put on sensors and cameras that they need around the outside.
Right.
And then if you can just open up a door and put the battery on the inside, I think it might be a little bit easier on them. Not sure if it's going to be in terms of cost. But again, I mean, look, I don't know how much this thing costs to make, but I think that DJI will be making a pretty good markup on this thing.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now finally, and I think that's a micro SD slot.
It just
on
looks.
there.
It looks maybe it's just because it's zoomed in, and I'm just sort of comparing it to the size of that HDMI port. You're probably right, Russ.
Yeah, I think it is. Yep. I think that's a mini HDMI port and the micro SD card slot.
I'd really be interested to see what flight time is like. I would assume it's going to be sub 16 minutes, which is what we see in the Spark, depending on what kind of battery we see on the inside. And that's something that could be a pretty big deterrent, because I know even with me flying the Spark, I almost get pissed off because it doesn't stay in the air for long enough.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing is on these props, it looks like they're independent. Like each...
Yeah, sort of like the Anafi's props.
Yes.
Right. Yep. That's what they look like. So that's kind of different too.
You know,
so
all those things aside, if it doesn't ship with OcuSync, I won't even care.
Oh, come on. It's not going to have OcuSync.
If it doesn't have, if it's Wi-Fi, I won't even care.
It is going to have Wi-Fi. You think they're going to sell a drone that's $400?
OcuSync would make that like perfect. You know,
you're going to fly that. You're gonna fly that thing 2 miles away?
No, I'm not saying I'm flying. It's just the struggles of just trying to, you know, deal with interference, just flying, you know, line of sight.
Right. I mean, you turn on your microwave and you're gonna lose your signal. You know.
This drone though, you put it more than 100 feet away, you're not seeing it. So I mean, you know.
True.
Yeah, well, that's you know, eat your carrots.
You know, it says here, I'm reading this article, it says that it will use DJI's enhanced Wi-Fi technology. Here's the thing, right? We see Wi-Fi in some other drones, for example, the Anafi. It's just not good. The Wi-Fi cannot bring you out far enough. But the Mavic Air, on the other hand, man, I really don't have that big of an issue flying it, and I really don't get a lot of interference with it. Even flying like in the city over the Schuylkill River, Ken, where we fly it down near the art museum, I could fly the Mavic Air down there and be totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, the Air wasn't too bad. The Spark was somewhat horrendous because you didn't have OTG cables at the time when that first came out. So, I mean, OTG definitely makes a big difference. But the Anafi, it was pretty horrendous. I know my Evo's transmission, I mean, it can get a little goofy at times. I know down there, you know, flying by the river by the art museum in Philly, I mean, it was almost unbearable. It was to the point where I was not taking it very far because it was so scrambled.
You were scared?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely scared. Definitely scared.
Well, you know, I also wonder what this is trying to compete with. It looks like here in the article, it talks about them trying to compete with the unique Mantis Q, but I almost think that this is smaller.
Is unique? Who are they again?
They released a couple drones a couple years ago, and they haven't really done much since.
I mean, honestly, maybe they're just trying to fill a void. I mean, think about it. You know, they haven't released anything, you know, that is aerial for consumers all year. They've done a couple of commercial releases this year, but from the consumer side, they've introduced things that, you know, sort of resonate with everything else beyond drones, which is great. It's good to see. I like to see them diversify. Many people are, you know, don't like to see that, but I think them broadening their product portfolio is a good thing, and it just sort of will protect them in the future. But
yeah,
I think we'll see something cool.
The voice control. I mean, hey, we've been asking for voice control. The Mantis Q has that.
Wow. Voice control would be epic.
You know, what if this had those gestures? Imagine if you control this. Remember that thing we saw at CES with the kid? You know, everybody's going gaga over this FT Aviator. We saw something at CES that blew that away.
Oh yeah.
blew that away.
Literally, you can manipulate your hand in different ways and make the drone fly just by moving your hand around. It has all these sensors on it.
You had a glove. It was amazing.
Okay,
cool.
so it's not like the Spark gesture control.
No.
This is like actually have a physical.
Yeah, and you didn't need your controller.
Wow. That would be cool.
The glove was your controller, basically. That was pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Now, at the time of recording this, it's Monday, August 12th at nighttime. So there was a DJI release. We've got no idea what it was. I think that everybody can probably determine it's going to be the Osmo Mobile 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely not going to be this Mavic Mini. I don't even want to waste any time talking about smartphone gimbals, because what's different between the ones from 2 years ago and what we have now? If anything, I think they've almost gotten cheaper, because the Osmo Mobile 1 was made of such great materials and the Osmo Mobile 2 was made of just straight plastic.
Right, and there's just so many other manufacturers now that are saturating that market. You know, it's funny, like Moza's making them, Zion's making them. You got Flytetimepodcast making them. By the way, did you see that tweet?
Yeah.
Did you see that tweet from them today?
Oh my gosh.
Billy, did you see that?
No,
that guy needs to. Whoever thought that, whoever came up with that,
it was the
should
worst.
Not be working there anymore. It was
tweet.
awful.
They had the AK-4500 in the case, and this lady's walking with it. And like it comes across, and it's like the AK-4500 is so easy, even a woman can use it. I saved it just in case they deleted it, so I can have some receipts. Yeah, it was bad. It was just bad.
Oh my goodness.
Just not a good look.
Well, they're not an American company.
No, definitely.
And not. So. All right, so look, we've got this release coming out on August 13th. We're filming this recording this prior, so it's probably going to be an Osmo Mobile 3. It's definitely not going to be this Mavic Mini. I think that these leaks are way too fresh. But also, I mean, there's just been like 2 rounds of leaks, so we really don't know exactly what this thing is going to be like. We've got a lot of really great specs to go off of, but I think that pretty much everything we've touched on is anything that anybody needs to know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I think, you know, if we were looking at, you know, all the releases that DJI has done this year that has to do with an Osmo, they've all had the similar theme to the banners, which is that very fun sort of look to it. I mean, it's all the same. I'd be really shocked if we saw anything additional beyond an Osmo Mobile. Was it tomorrow, right?
Yeah. So let's make a little transition here. Russ, you were talking about how you're doing some commercial work. You said you were doing real estate shoots. So is that something you do often? Is it something you're trying to get into, or what's up with that?
Well, honestly, what I want to get into doing more stuff that I actually get paid for using my drone. You know, YouTube is definitely the passion, what I'm fired up to do every day, but I'd like to get out there and just do more stuff like you guys do. You know, that industrial stuff is really interesting to me. You know, the mapping, 3D mapping, and things like that. And then I got a lot of friends that work in emergency services, so you know, fire department or whatever. I think that would be very rewarding, especially search and rescue type stuff. Not that we have a lot of search and rescue needs up here, but there is, you know, the occasional, you know, search for somebody missing or whatever. And then I think just to help with fires, just to help with rural fires. We have a lot of prairie fires here.
Okay.
You know, in the springtime and in the fall as well. But I think it'd be fun to have a thermal camera and help with stuff like that. So, but yeah, I've done a few real estate shoots just from people that I know. I did a couple of complimentary, and they did well. And so a couple other, they gave my name to other people, and then they contacted me, and I did a couple of paid gigs. And yeah, so now it's just very slowly. It's all word of mouth. You know, it's just talking with Ken a little bit about it, and he said that's how it works. You just get your name out there, and people start recommending and seeing your work. And I just showed a video that I did a couple weeks ago to a realtor that I know, and she's like, "Oh, I had no idea that you'd do that. So now I guess I have a new video guy." And I'm like, "Yeah, spread the word." So
perfect.
We have we're very relatively small community. You know, we're about 50,000 people. And I asked her today, I said, how many realtors are actually in this town? Because it seems like I know all of them. And there's 210 realtors in our community in a town of 50,000 people. So, yeah. And I think I probably know at least 100 of them. So, it's kind of saturated, and not, most of them are part-time. About 20% of them are full-time, I guess. But yeah, just getting the name out there. And I really enjoy that stuff because, to be honest with you, it's easy money. It's seriously, it really is. You go out there, you do your shoot, you're having fun flying. And the hardest part is editing it, when you get home, putting it together. And it's just, you're having fun doing something. And for the time that you put in, it's pretty good money. So I think it's something to pursue for sure.
As soon as you said easy money, Ken and I shook our head in succession.
Yeah,
because it really is, though. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
I shot some photos of a property today, and it was like right around the corner from the house. Realtor's like, "Hey, I need these photos ASAP." I said, "Well, it's right on the airport." I said, "We're only allowed to fly 50 feet," and I said, "Well, let me see if I can get authorization." So I got authorization, 50 feet. I was like, all right, cool, I'll go over there. I didn't even think it was going to be enough, but it was just a vacant lot, just blank lot. Put the Evo up with the wide angle lens, sort of did well, and bam, there's $150 right there for doing basically nothing.
Yeah, it's nice. And you know what, me and Ken will have to share with you a little editing tip when we're off the air.
I'll we've learned a lot. Like, you talk to people, and we've learned a lot, like, because time is everything. Like,
right.
when it comes to like getting things cranked out to your clients, or you're going to offer, like, a lot of realtors that I'm dealing with now, they want next day deliveries. Well, that's really time consuming, and I'll never see my family.
Yeah, right.
It's sort of a life hack, but pretty much everything that you went over about doing commercial drone work has like the potential to really see the benefit of a thermal camera. Have you any experience with the thermal cameras at all? I mean, I'm just starting. I'm like scratching the surface.
Yeah, not one bit. And so you have the Mavic 2 Enterprise, right?
Had it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Had it on loan, and I made some videos on it.
Okay.
I got my feet wet with thermal cameras, but you've got to go through classes to become a thermographer to then go on to really make use of those cameras.
Right. Yeah. And so I was, just kind of shopping the Anafi thermal.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely more affordable, but I think just to stay in line with the DJI stuff, the Enterprise would be a better choice.
The Enterprise is a good choice. The resolution is a little bit weak for specific things, and so FLIR tools is how you'll read, like, how a thermographer will read the data, and the data can't be read from FLIR tools with the Mavic 2 Enterprise, the Mavic Enterprise. It can't, just because of that sensor that they have on there. So I mean, there's a couple of companies kicking around some more affordable thermals coming up. But I mean, I think if somebody's going to get involved with it, probably the best route is try to find yourself like a used M210 or something.
You can even go the route. They have the XT2 camera, which I know, Russ, you said you're doing some shopping around, is $12,000. The XT2 camera.
Just let me get my wallet out here. I got my cash. Yeah.
That is a side-by-side thermal and RGB camera. But I'm sure, I haven't looked at prices, but the XT camera still offers a great resolution compared to what the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual can offer. Yeah. Now, if you need like a large scale photo, you can actually make thermal maps through Drone Deploy. So, if you wanted to do like a big roof and you're like, oh man, I got to fly at like 400 feet to capture this whole thing, and it's just going to be a blurry mess. Well, you can actually make a large scale map, which could be beneficial. But yeah, man, it's awesome to hear that you're getting into commercial drone stuff, because I think that not only does it allow, you to make some more money, but also it gives you so much more experience to share with other people, and that's what we are, is like a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, that's right. I'd like to gain that experience, and so when people ask me, because right now I can't give them an answer when they ask me something about thermal or mapping or anything like that, and so just gives more information, kind of adds to the encyclopedia. One thing that I wanted to ask you guys about, this happened to me the other day. I was using after I did that video on Kitty Hawk versus Air Map on the Lance.
Yeah.
And so I went out to this area that I know I could get clearance. It was right on the edge of restricted airspace. It was 200 feet. I applied for authorization to fly 200 feet, and I got it. It was instant authorization as a Part 107. and I flew right away. I went the next day to a different location, but on the same edge of the restricted airspace. It was just like 3 miles away, same 200 feet, applied for authorization, Part 107 pilot, and a warning came up and said, denied, must apply at least 24 hours ahead of time.
I got that
so
today.
What is that?
So depending on, I mean, I don't know. It depends on the airport. So I was trying to see if I can apply for, at least 200 feet for this property today. And I would have had to put my waiver in 48 hours in advance. And they would go through the approval process. But I was able to get instant authorization at 50 feet right
50?
away, which
Okay.
I thought was a little weird. But I've had that come up a couple of times, and I've gotten approved once in the same spot, the same subdivision, and denied once. It's same elevation, just a different day. So I don't really know what the deal is. I mean, unless if the airport is communicating different operations, like my airport always has the Coast Guard. They're doing training. So they may have had an operation that would have impeded on, me flying at that altitude. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I guess you don't really know what's going on in the airspace.
Yeah. I mean, we don't get
any given time.
Not all the airports communicate the different things that are happening, which, I mean, it sort of sucks that we don't have a little bit more transparency to be able to get those approvals. But I mean, I like the new system. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit more forgiving. But what needs to happen is DJI also needs to implement those authorizations into their applications, because what I found just recently in Tampa doing a gig was I can get authorization from Kitty Hawk. DJI app would not let me take off. Would not. There was nothing I can do. It just wouldn't let me take off. Even though I self-unlocked, it wasn't allowing me to take off in the airspace, even though I had authorization. Just really put me in a bad bind.
I've never had that happen, actually. DJI has let me self-unlock every time.
I was on the smart controller if there was one caveat, so I don't know if it was, I was connected to the internet, but it just, and that's another, trying to self-unlock on the smart controller is insane. I wish you can use a fingerprint to self-unlock.
Oh.
Or Face ID.
Yeah.
Face ID, once you log in, you can just use Face ID or your fingerprint to unlock. I wish there was biometrics on the smart controller. Of course, it'd probably raise the price, but would be awesome.
Well, hey, getting back to that voice control option, right? Imagine being able to fly and just say, hey, DJI, set my return to home altitude to 300 feet. I mean, that would be incredible. There's so many different things you could use your voice for rather than dig through the menus as your drone is hovering there, burning battery.
Right. It allows you to keep your eye on what you're doing and not have to, take, I always cringe when I have to flip to the settings screen to make a change and I can't visually see what the drone sees. I don't know. I always get nervous.
That's why they make it see-through, kid.
What's that?
They make it see-through.
Not all the options are if I flip to if I'm checking out what I just captured or something.
True. Okay. Makes sense.
I mean, you're forever doing that to me. We'll be out flying. You'll be like, hey, check this out. I'm like, where's your drone? And you're like, it's over there. But check this out. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
I'm guilty of that.
He's notorious.
Well, you know what? As you're talking about doing realty work, Ken is definitely a good resource to go to. I know that he started not too long ago, but I mean, you've jumped all in.
Yeah, you gotta with the realtors and just what's funny is once you do one gig for somebody and if they really like it, or here's the golden ticket is if they sell that house quickly, they associate their sale with the work that you performed. I had a realtor text me today. They do these flyers, every time they sell a house, they show, they put a flyer out on their social media essentially. And she sent me this 3 different flyers for houses that I just recently shot. And she's like, thank you. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I was waiting for a PayPal link or potentially even an Apple Pay tip or something. But no, there was nothing there.
Well, realtors, I don't work with them as much as you do, but man, they can be a real pain to deal with sometimes. Yeah.
They always want you to do things that you necessarily aren't supposed to do. What I found is I'll do a lot of property shoots, blank or vacant lots. And technically speaking, when you bring those photos back and you get them out of your editor, you're not supposed to mark the property lines because that's considered surveying. We're not surveyors.
Oh, sure. Yep.
I didn't know that. And somebody said to me, hey, just, if they ask you to do that, just let them know you're not a surveyor. You can't mark those lines, but they can send it to somebody that can. So there's all, because, somebody who's potentially buying a piece of property, they're going to look at those lines as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. So there's all sorts of different rules in that regard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What I found has been pretty good is trying to be that middleman, right?
Yeah.
So being the guy that's going to fly the drone for the surveyor or for the inspector or for the farmer or anybody, because chances are there's probably a handful of guys out there who are just doing it illegally and are not doing it with their Part 107. They're like, hey guys, let's just buy a drone or whatever. And I could definitely see the farmers going that route, because who's going to go and knock on their doorstep? Right. So being that middleman for these guys, they don't have to worry about buying the drones. They don't have to worry about hiring somebody. They don't have to worry about certification, insurance, always changing laws. That's the biggest thing that people who do work with their drones have to worry about, is like, well, look, are these companies just going to hire drone pilots and I won't be able to go out and find a job or be contracted? But also you've got to think about it. There's a lot that goes into owning a drone as a company and finding someone to fly it.
And that's my stick is, with real estate, I don't want to just do aerial. Like, you have to do so much more, so that way you can offer your client the max, and that way you essentially own that client. Yesterday I did a gig. My brother does real estate photography. He doesn't have a 107, so he's subletting through me now. And I've had some photographers do the same, and then what will happen is that realtor will find out I do more, and they'll just drop their photographer because they just want a one-stop shop. So
that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, one thing that's going on around here a lot is it's kind of like you got to keep up with the Joneses. A lot of the realtors here are getting the Matterport cameras. And they're doing the Matterports themselves. Yeah. And I'm like, holy, that's like $4,000 for that camera.
We had that come through here. And then, the problem is the photos that it takes just really skew the view, and they look terrible. For $4,000. It looks terrible. It was a fad. I mean, I used the Insta-1 360s for, for my 360 tours, but I haven't had a realtor ask me for 360 photos in probably 3.5 months. That's, if that says anything.
Yeah, well, I've been doing work with a real estate photographer local to me. He does like 7 homes a day. It's his full-time gig. Ken knows him. We're all buddies. And out of all the houses he gets, he said that he probably gets asked for Matterport like twice a year.
So it is kind of a fad.
Yeah, it's just not appealing. It's not appealing, like, when you think about it. I think a Matterport is good for new construction, possibly, like if you're building something for a website.
Sure. Yeah, and you know what? I tell Steve about these guys all the time. I work for a construction company. It's a bunch of Polish guys, and they're hardcore, man. They're nuts. Some of the stories I have are insane. And I showed them these 360 photos that I could take, and they wanted me to do them, and they only do exterior construction. So I'm thinking to myself, like, why would they want 360 photos when like 70% of the image is just going to be like trees behind you and stuff that you don't want to see? You just want to look at the house. But I showed it to them, and they're all about it. They love it. They're like, yes, we need this.
That's cool.
Give it to them.
Different strokes.
Exactly.
Now,
exactly.
For sure.
Was it you who responded to me about the agriculture? I said about the agriculture videos, Russ. Did you say something about how out near you have a lot of farming operations?
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, that's our whole state. Yep.
Have you tried to get in contact with any farmers near you?
I haven't, and actually I know. I mean, my family farmed growing up, so I have a lot of farmer friends in our family, but I guess I haven't really visited with anybody about it. Yeah. I don't know. I just haven't pursued it, but yeah, that's another option for sure.
There's a lot of times where I try to break through into a market. Like, I've been trying to do stockpile inspections. Ken is going to laugh as soon as I say stockpile inspections. And every single time I go up, I'll literally just walk in and I'll be like, hey guys, I do stockpile inspections with my drone. How do you guys do them now? They're like, we look outside. We look right at our piles. We know how much it is. Just get out of our office.
So I think it's his delivery on things,
probably
a little rough.
Yeah.
Well, look, the thing that I was talking about, how these companies can just go and buy their own drone, I think that farmers are the most likely to do that because, again, you said your family farm, so you might know a little bit better than me, but they're not really subcontracting out a lot of work. They do a lot of it themselves.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like a lot of farmers, don't want to take the time to figure that out. They'll fly their drone and they'll get an image of what's going on from above, but they're like, as far as mapping, they're not going to take the time to, I don't know, maybe there might be some, I guess, but
I've been dabbling with agriculture farming just because something huge came up for me, and the one thing that's really beneficial about it is it shows plant health. It measures the near infrared light that bounces off, and it's not perfect, but it still can give a farmer a really good look and a really good representation of what's on their field and the plant health, so that they know where they need to go out and check rather than aimlessly walk around. Well, not aimlessly, but check their whole field. So it's good for preliminary stuff, but
definitely a time saver for sure.
Yeah. So Russ, thanks for coming on. Sharing your thoughts about the Mavic Mini, sharing what's up with you. Do you have anything coming up? Any big projects you're working on you want to share? Anything you want to plug?
Nothing really. Just got a couple new products here coming out. I got one kind of I guess it's pretty exciting, something new that we haven't seen before. So I'm kind of excited to be part of that, but that's all I can say right now, I guess. So,
awesome. Well, look, I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks again for coming on the podcast. Ken, anything else?
No, man, I think that's it. Yeah, thanks for us coming on. We've all sort of been talking. Seems like there's a group of us that always try to communicate pretty much weekly. So I really appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us for the evening.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I was telling you guys earlier, podcasts weren't a thing that I did very much, and now I'm gonna have to start doing it on a regular basis, I guess, listening to you guys.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool just sitting down talking. I mean, there's a lot of things that don't make it into videos just because you want to make it as concise as possible, but having this conversation is something that a lot of people don't hear people have,
Absolutely. And it's nice to be kind of, laid back. You don't have to worry about a script. You're just visiting and talking shop, and I think that's kind of refreshing.
Exactly.
Actually.
I'm not even wearing pants right now, so I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
neither am I.
Thanks. I got pants on, everybody.
Awesome. Well, hey, Russ, thanks for coming on, and we will catch you guys next time.
Later, guys.
All right. Thanks. Later.
Yeah.